Hey guys, and welcome back to the wood shop / leather shop. If you're new here, I am the convicted Christian. I am 7 years clean and sober. I did almost 10 years in prison, but now I am free and off parole, all thanks to God's love for me. So, if you're a returning viewer, you know that it is What I Learned Wednesday. And this is where I talk about what I learned Monday and the things that happened in my life that now affect how I think and the decisions I make. As you can tell, it's a little colder in here than it was the last dang near 2-3 weeks. We went from 63, 64 degrees. Today is a high of 18. So almost a 50 degree swing in temperature. But as I said before, I thoroughly enjoy making these videos. And so no matter the fact that it's cold, I'm still going to be out here making videos, working in my shop, and hopefully bringing hope to some of you guys. So, I talked about last week the things that I did that led up to and contributed to my going to prison for the first time. And in the short term, I did not learn a lot about that. But in the long term, it's definitely helped me. The first thing was getting my oldest daughter's mother pregnant. That really goes along with the if you feel a certain way, wait 24 hours and see if you still feel the same way. I don't think that having that, I probably still would have did what I did. That wouldn't have affected me in the moment. It was the furthest thing from my mind. But now it definitely has lent to me not rushing into relationships. But whenever the right relationship, like I have now with my wife, comes along, do all you can to make sure that that relationship stays strong. 2, not everyone's your friend, and learning when it's the right time to make friends. Hang on, I gotta turn my heat up. And when it's the right time to just stay as an acquaintances. That was a hard learned lesson. Hard H, a hard learned lesson. But a lesson learned nonetheless. And it's helped me because I definitely used to be one of those I need to make everyone my friend so I'm never alone situation. And I didn't realize that not everyone is my friend. And just because I call them a friend doesn't make them one. And you can still be alone, surrounded by people that you think are your friends. Or you can be completely fulfilled with just the acquaintances you have. That was a hard lesson. That one took me a while. That one took a little longer to settle in. Something I didn't talk about in Monday's video, which I ended up releasing Tuesday instead of Monday night, was that I was still drinking, I was still using. It hadn't gotten to a heavy point, a concerning point quite yet, but it was still an aspect of my life. Another thing that I learned involving the chase on the bike was that no matter how fast you run, no matter how many, zigs and zags, no matter how many times you bob or weave, your problems are going to catch you. Especially if you're like me and you're currently struggling with legal issues. It's best to take care of them as soon as they arise, so that you can nip it in the bud and you have as little consequences as possible. Had I just stopped, I would have been out probably within 48 hours. I would have spent 48 hours in jail, and that would have been that. But because I did what I did, and I fought with the cops, I got another felony, a handful of misdemeanors, a disorderly, battery, fleeing, all that. It made it exponentially worse. So always think about that. If you're gonna get in trouble anyway, why not lessen the consequence and accept it as soon as you know it's coming, and it won't be as bad for you. I tell my girl, I had to have the conversation with my daughter today because she lied to me openly to my face for the first time that I can think of, where it was a calculated lie. And I had to explain it to her that I was more upset over being lied to than I was of what she lied about. Same thing. It is going to be much worse if you run. Just like it was much worse, the punishment was much worse for her because she lied. Whereas if you stand up, accept the consequences, take accountability for your actions, and be responsible enough to say that, yes, I did it, I messed up, I'm willing to take whatever is my way, it's going to earn you more respect. You're still going to get punished, but it may be lesser, and it opens the door for when you start changing in your life, for people to be like, okay, yeah, he took it on the chin like a man or a woman. He accepted it like an adult, and now he's changing. That's something that took a long time for me to learn. Because as you'll hear throughout the however many more days, I don't know how many more videos I'm going to make about the life story stuff, that's a recurring theme. Almost sociopathically recurring theme. So it behooves you. I love that word. Behooves you to be willing to step up and do the right thing. What's the phrase? Even when no one's watching? That's exactly right. It is better to step up and do the right thing, even when no one's watching, just because it's the right thing to do. And as hard as it is to fathom that it is the right thing to do, doesn't change the fact that it is. So, there's that. In regards to my marriage, as I'll explain further down the road, I struggled with a relationship with my first wife for many, many years. Because I could not see the issues in front of me. I could not see my own shortcomings. I could not see her shortcomings. I could not see that this was not going to end well. When everyone else could. Everyone in my life could see it. And there were a few times where during this stretch of my life we made a true attempt. But it was never out of a place of truly wanting that change. It was more out of necessity and where we were as individuals. So what I took out of that, I now use with the wife that I have. When I was married the first time, I could not. I can't stress enough. I could not let things go. If I thought that I was right, everyone was going to know that I was right. Everybody had to know I was right. She was wrong. It did not matter if I actually was right or not. Sometimes I was, sometimes I wasn't. So, learning when to step back in an argument shows some grace and let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Now that I do that, the marriage that I have is exceedingly far better than my first marriage. And there are times I still struggle with it. There are times that I still feel like I have to be right, that I have to be. I know what I know. More often than not, is what I'm saying accurate? Yes. But it's not always beneficial to our relationship. And it's not always beneficial to our marriage. And I'm definitely still learning that. I think that is going to be a lifelong learn session. And I will never get it perfect. But I'm getting better. And if my wife sees this video, let me know. Am I getting it right? Or am I still holding on to my belief in my own rightness a little too much? Another thing that I learned in the marriage is me and my first wife, we were overly PDA'd, public display of affection. Our relationship was almost 99% physical. And from the man side of it, it was amazing. Because I didn't have to ask for anything. I didn't have to beg for anything. I didn't have to, hide anything or control anything. It was just free and open. Hippie love, baby. Hippie love. But that also led to both of us definitely wandering and seeking other people's affections. Both of us. We both did. And in this marriage, it's more restrained, but there's beauty in that. We're not laying ourselves bare in front of each other. And there's still things about me that my wife can and will learn with time. And there's still things about my wife that I still will and can learn about her. Wants and desires and wishes. Things that it's not that we're hiding them from each other. It's not that we are keeping some deep, dark secret from each other. It's that the time and place to talk about those hasn't arisen yet. Arisen? Risen. Hasn't come yet. That's what I meant. I used the wrong word. And the beauty of constantly wanting to learn more and more about each other and grow deeper and closer together through that knowledge, and through that closeness and intimate mental, physical, emotional interaction, means that our relationship isn't going to be perfect. And there's not times where it may not become stale. But there's always going to be room for that passion and that fire. With a 5'3" and almost 2.5-month-old, the fire's a little hard to find, but it's there. It didn't burn so hot in the beginning that there's no power in it anymore. There's beauty there, and there's love there. The last thing that I learned from my first marriage is that feelings always change. Feelings always change. Love is never permanent. The feeling of love is never permanent. The puppy love, the honeymoon phase, the so in love that you're head over heels, that feeling that when you first met is not always going to be there. It's not going to ever completely disappear either. And I have to make a daily choice that I will love my wife. Even when we're cranky with each other, even when we're frustrated with each other, even when I do the same thing for the 30th time in 15 days, even when my wife degrades herself and doesn't think as highly about herself as I do, which just gets on my nerves. Because she is an amazing woman. And every single day I wonder, how could God ever think that I could deserve a woman in my life like her? People always ask, who's your number one? Is it your kids? Is it your wife? Below God, below the Father, it's always my wife. Before my kids. Always. Because if it wasn't for my wife, I wouldn't have my kids. That doesn't mean that I won't throw her in front of a bullet if it meant saving my kid's life, because I know she would expect me to. I know that protecting those children is our number one priority. But my wife will always be my number one. And because of that, I choose to be in love with that woman. I choose to stay and fight passionately for our relationship. The things that I believe would help her that she fights back on, if I did not choose to love her, I wouldn't care. But I push back just as much as she does. Because I can see the beauty within inside her. I don't know how God sees her. But I would like to believe I get pretty darn close. She is by far the only person that I would ever need in this world, if it came to And as much as I wish I wouldn't have hurt my first wife emotionally, as much as I wouldn't have let her down and failed her as much as I did, because of that, I have the marriage that I have today. I have the love for another person so much greater than myself that it almost hurts because of that first failed marriage. And I got to remember to keep that as my number one priority, is my marriage and my relationship with my wife. So those are the things that I learned. It took longer. I didn't learn them learn that in the immediate. But when I look back, that's the way I see how my decisions now are altered from this time frame in my life. And I'm so glad. I am by far a better man for those times. And I don't regret that they happened. The only thing that I regret is that other people had to be hurt along with myself. Well, that's going to wrap up this What I Learned Wednesday. If you have someone close to you who is fighting for you, who is fighting you about how good you are, stop for a second and love them. And just love them. Even if you don't feel it, act as if you feel it. Because where the body goes, the mind will follow. Where you take the action, your emotions will follow. I hope you guys have a good Wednesday. I hope you guys had a good half of a week so far. And I can't wait to show you what I got going on for Hobby Friday. I'll be done with the urn, and I'll be able to show videos and pictures, and it's going to be pretty awesome. Always remember, if we're going to change the world, we have to change how we view each other and change ourselves. Have a good night, guys. I hope to see you again.